And we're racing, and Callum Eilert gets a much better start than Mark Litchfield, and Nicholas Nielsen goes through in second place. Mark Litchfield making a very extravagant left to right move there, but I think that's left him in round about 5th or 6th place. So, well, looking at the top of the Litchfield Bridge, maybe that's him in 3rd place, but certainly Callum Eilert and Nicholas Nielsen are your front running two. And Nicholas Nielsen takes the lead right at the start, and going through, well, that was a little bit of a misjudgment perhaps by Callum Eilert. Paolo Besoncenet is now in 2nd place, the Frenchman in 2nd place behind Nicholas Nielsen. Nicholas Nielsen having a long look, Callum Eilert in 3rd place. So on screen you're seeing Nicholas Nielsen, 78 points in the championship. If Nicholas Nielsen was to win this championship, he would be the champion, but hey, whilst I'm quite neutral about who wins the championship, I hope we have a really good race and not simply a procession at the front. Paolo Besoncenet in 2nd place, the Frenchman who wasn't going very well in the early stages of this event, going well now in 2nd place. Callum Eilert trying to go through into 2nd place, and Callum Eilert does, I think, go through into 2nd place on the Litchfield Bridge. Yes, he does. So Nicholas Nielsen now leading, Callum Eilert in 2nd place. Paolo Besoncenet saying to the guys behind, that's Pedro Hiltbrand, come on, let's chase them, don't let's fight each other, let's chase them. Now Nicholas Nielsen is looking over his shoulder. That's about the 4th time that he's looked over his shoulder. He does it again this early in the race. Nicholas, we've got a 22 lap race, so if you look behind you as you do again, there'll be somebody there for sure. I always feel uncomfortable when a driver's looking behind him too early on. If I was a driver behind, I would be thinking, well, every time you look round, I'm going to be right there, except when I drive past you. This is the end of lap 2 of 22. It is therefore the start of lap 3. And there goes the move by Callum Eilert into the lead. Callum Eilert underneath the Litchfield Bridge takes the lead off Nicholas Nielsen, and the poleman now having the lead, and Nicholas Nielsen behind him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just offer you a tiny... Now Callum Eilert is looking over his shoulder. I offer you a tiny piece of a tidbit at the start of the race. If the race finished with Callum Eilert first and Nicholas Nielsen second, they would tie on 94 points for the championship. We'll talk about how the tie-break goes if that situation comes about. Callum Eilert leads, Nicholas Nielsen in 2nd place, Pedro Hiltbrand 3rd, Paolo Besoncenet 4th, Tom Joyner 5th. There you see Tom. Mark Litchfield is the 6th of those drivers, behind Tom Joyner, a little bit of a gap. Talking about a little bit of a gap, Callum Eilert now getting himself a little bit closer. Well, I think I told you that the virtual championship would put them together. Now with Callum Eilert in the lead, it would be 99 points to Callum Eilert, 89 to Nicholas Nielsen, so a victory for Callum Eilert. Let's have a look at instant replay. Well, it's already done and dusted. Callum Eilert has gone through nicely. Nicholas Nielsen, if he loses to Callum Eilert, loses the championship. Nicholas Nielsen, if he lost to somebody else and Callum was way down the field, could still win it. Callum Eilert win the championship by winning the race has to be his best strategy. We're coming to the end of lap 4, the start of lap 5. Callum Eilert's lead over Nicholas Nielsen is 0.3 of a second. And you can see their lovely shots on CIK TV. You can see just how that margin has widened. Bigger margin between 2nd and 3rd. Fastest lap to Callum Eilert at 54.9, so dropping into 56.9, dropping into the 56s now. And going from 4th to 3rd is Pedro Hiltbrand. Pedro Hiltbrand, the Spaniard you see in shot there. Pedro Hiltbrand has just gone past Paolo Besoncenet. Paolo Besoncenet, let's have a look how that happened. Well, no, this is Nick Nielsen and Callum Eilert, isn't it? Yeah, there's the move. There is the move, the start of the move that saw Pedro Hiltbrand and Paolo Besoncenet trade places. Alessio Lorandi running 5th, Mark Litchfield 6th, Gabriel Aubrey 7th. And again, that passing move that we see. Kart number 155 is Paolo Besoncenet, losing out to kart number 115, Pedro Hiltbrand. We're on lap 6, going over the Lichfield Bridge for the 6th time of 22, and this is Callum Eilert leading. Fastest lap for Pedro Hiltbrand. Part number 115, Pedro Hiltbrand quick, but he's 1.2 seconds behind Callum Eilert at this stage. But although he's 1.2 seconds behind, it is a 22 lap race and we're only on lap 6. We're not yet, well, we're just approaching the first quarter, aren't we? Nice shot there, part number 155, Paolo Besancene. But he's running in 4th place at the moment behind Pedro Hiltbrand, Nicholas Nielsen, and your leader at the top of your screen, Callum Eilert. He looks over his head. As Callum Eilert looked over his head, Nick Nielsen dipped his head against the wind and almost looked as if when Callum Eilert looked over, Nicholas Nielsen was saying, "I don't want you to see me, I'll drop my head." Callum Eilert's fastest lap is 56.66, or sorry, his last lap, 56.66. Nicholas Nielsen's done a 56.64. So Nicholas Nielsen minimally quicker. But Callum Eilert in front of Nicholas Nielsen equals a Callum Eilert champion. Tom Joyner would be on the championship podium if things finished as they are at the moment. Tom Joyner running 8th. Callum Eilert leading. Nicholas Nielsen on the Cosmic Vortex driving the identifiable suit in the Cosmic House colours. Callum Eilert on that Zanardi Perilla in the very light race suit. This is the start of lap 8. Nice shot there of the exit from the Lichfield Bridge, the underpass, the climb up on the left-hand turn to go over the Lichfield Bridge. Lando Norris sets the fastest lap. Lando Norris has dropped down to 12th place, and although I didn't mention in commentary, I didn't really know why Lando Norris. He started on the 2nd row, and it was a little bit of a surprise to see Lando going down out of the top 10. Well, he's running the quickest of everybody at the moment, but just outside of the top 10 he's running quickest. On lap 8, Callum Eilert continuing to hold this advantage. The drivers coming through, you see it here, are those from the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The margin in favour of Callum Eilert, as our caption shows, is 0.45 of a second. It's a much bigger margin between Pedro Hiltbrand and Paolo Besancene. Alessio Lorandi has had a really mixed bag of emotions here, leading the race by a huge margin on Saturday when he went out with a seized motor, and having had to find himself in the last chance race in relatively recent times, can you believe? But going well here. Callum Eilert being pursued by Nicholas Nielsen, and Pedro Hiltbrand in 3rd place, getting closer to Nicholas Nielsen. These are the lower order of the top 10, but these are the front running 3. 115, Pedro Hiltbrand. 103, Nicholas Nielsen. 106, Callum Eilert. It's Callum Eilert in shot now, with the predominantly orange colour on the helmet, but the very light racing suit. Once again, Callum Eilert peeps over his shoulder, and Nicholas Nielsen dips his head against the wind resistance. Callum Eilert building on this lead though, climbing up the hill, left-handed, to go over the overpass at the Lichfield Bridge. You see the very healthy crowd we've got here at PF International Circuit. Really good turnout by the local and not so local kart racing fans. 115 you saw in shot there was a really nice picture of Pedro Hiltbrand on that CRG Perilla, driving in the CRG house colours. A lot of people say that that's a nicer set of colours now for CRG than the previously all darker ones. Pedro Hiltbrand in front of Paolo Besancene 4th, Alessio Lorandi still 5th, Mark Litchfield hanging into a top 10 place, running in 6th, Tom Joyner in 8th place. Ollie Hodgson is in 10th place, is he? Oliver Hodgson, no, 15th place, but that's having started right at the back. Oliver Hodgson has come through the field to 15th, halfway through the field to 15th. Lap 11. And so at the end of this lap we shall be at the half race distance. Callum Eilert's lead is half a second. Doesn't sound a lot, but it does look as if Well, Lando Norris now setting another fastest lap, and there is kart number 132, Alessio Lorandi, going from 5th to 4th, and our television cameras picked that up absolutely perfectly. Alessio Lorandi going from 5th to 4th at the expense of the Frenchman Paolo Besançonnet, so the Italian Lorandi now in 4th place. There's a nice instant replay picture on CIK TV. Very sweetly done by Alessio Lorandi. Once Paolo Besançonnet saw that nose cone alongside him to the right, there was nothing legitimate that he could do about it. Callum Ilott, a quick swivel of the head to see what's what. Well, Nicholas Nielsen is just slightly closer, 0.47 of a second now, but Pedro Hiltbrand getting closer to Nicholas Nielsen. If the championship was to end here, Callum Ilott would have 99 points, Nicholas Nielsen would have 89 points, Tom Joyner would have 60, Lando Norris would have 60. Callum Ilott would be the champion. But that's only the half race distance. 11 laps have gone. This is lap 12 of 22. So we've still got, 15 kilometres to race. Biggest part of 10 miles still to be raced. Nice pictures there, action pictures of Callum Ilott. I do applaud our television director, WSK Promotions, providing these fabulous pictures for CIK TV. And really, really good shot there. And Callum Ilott this time doing a Nicholas Nielsen and dipping his head against the visor, against the windshield. Well, Nicholas Nielsen is definitely getting a little bit closer to Callum Ilott, but is he getting closer quickly enough? Pedro Hiltbrand looks over his shoulder. This is the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th, and in particular 5th and 6th. Paolo Besançonnet, and there goes Mark Litchfield up from 6th to 5th. Mark Litchfield caught on our cameras at the right spot at the right moment. Mark Litchfield elevates himself from 6th place to 5th on lap 13. Let's have a look at that in instant replay. There is Mark Litchfield, the elder statesman of English karting, going sweetly through Paolo Besançonnet and into 5th place. This is Callum Ilott that you're looking at, pursued by Nicholas Nielsen. Pedro Hiltbrand at the top of your screen. Into Pedro going for a little while on the grass there, didn't he? He was a little later rejoining the tarmac proper, having gone on to the extended rumble. Callum Ilott driving, as we say, for a Swedish team, a British driver driving for a Swedish team, Zanardi Striker Racing, as indeed is Tom Joyner. And Tom Joyner now slipping off the championship, virtual championship podium, because Lando Norris at this moment has got an extra point than Tom Joyner. So at this moment, Lando Norris would be 3rd in the championship. But hey, they're just numbers. We've got a great race to watch, haven't we? Callum Ilott, is he doing all that he needs to do to take him to a championship? There's a nice shot of Pedro Hiltbrand. Pedro Hiltbrand drives a CRG Perilla in kart number 115. Really good action shot of Pedro. I did say earlier on today in commentary, he was a top runner in this championship at the early part of the season, but when we went to Zuera, Spain, his home event, it all went wrong for some reason. Well, Callum Ilott now really striking out. Our virtual championship being shown to you, showing that Callum Ilott has a 10-point advantage at this moment. But remember, if Nielsen was to pass Ilott, it would then go to equal. Now, there goes Mark Litchfield in kart 192 past Alessio Lorandi, and Mark Litchfield moves up to 4th place. Alessio Lorandi being relegated now to 5th. Let's look at that again in instant replay. Almost an identical move by Mark Litchfield on Alessio Lorandi as the move that he put on Paolo Besançonnet a couple of laps previously. Lorandi now 5th, Besançonnet 6th, Gabriel Aubrey 7th, Tom Joyner 8th, Lando Norris 9th, and Nico Kari in 10th place. We've lost Oliver Norris, we've lost John Norris, we've lost Carol Bash. Unfortunate to lose anybody, but Carol Bash has been a really strong contender in this championship, so unlucky for him. This is kart number 16 as we get something of a fly past by a vintage aircraft looking over towards the right of the circuit, which sadly none of our cameras will be able to pick up. Lincolnshire is a part of the United Kingdom where there are several airfields, military airfields of the past, but we're here to watch the racing. And that is Callum Ilott He is here to keep his concentration. He couldn't care two hoots if there's a flying pig in the sky or whether it's a Vulcan bomber. He's here to win this race, and in winning the race, to win the European Championship. This is the end of lap 16. We set off now on lap 17, or Callum Ilott does. Nicholas Nielsen behind him, but there's 0.9 of a second, 9/10 of a second between them. The pair of them are 2.5 seconds clear of Pedro Hiltbrand in third place. So this race at the front, if it was a race much closer, we could have said this is just a thrilling climax. I have to say that with Callum Ilott having the lead that he has, you would feel that it would have to be something of a disaster befalling Callum Ilott not to win from here. And whilst I'm completely neutral in my race call, I wouldn't want any championship to be lost on a disaster. I want to see it on a fair race, and if this goes fairly onwards from here, this is lap 17 of 22 and 9/10 of a second in favour of Callum Ilott, it would be hard to see Nicholas Nielsen closing that gap entirely. But these are the front two bidding for victory in the race, and the front two are bidding for victory in the championship. It is between these two now. If both of them went out, Tom Joyner could win it, but we're not anticipating both of them going out. In fact, actually, I'm not sure that Tom Joyner could. Yes, I think he perhaps could on drop scores. We're on lap 18. Callum Ilott's lead is still 0.9 of a second. Oliver Hodgson up to 14th. I remind you that he started on the last row. So a good drive by Oliver Hodgson, driving for Paul Fletcher International Karting Team, as is Mark Litchfield, who is running in 4th place in kart number 192. Callum Ilott in shot, Nicholas Nielsen in shot, no one else close enough to be seen. Callum Ilott turning right onto the home straight, this for the 18th time. Doesn't look over his shoulder this time, and Nicholas Nielsen doesn't dip his head this time. Under the Litchfield Bridge for the 18th time, Callum Ilott turns right, climbs up the grade, turns right over the Litchfield Bridge. Nicholas Nielsen in 2nd place, and a long way back to there is Pedro Hiltbrand in shot now. He's being pursued by Mark Litchfield in 4th, and Mark Litchfield pursued by Alessio Lorandi in 5th. Mark Litchfield may be feeling that he would like to get a 3rd place, because if he got a 3rd place, he'd make the podium. Doesn't feature anywhere in the championship standings, but he would make the podium if he was to pass Pedro Hiltbrand. There are 3 laps remaining after this one, 4 laps including the one we're on. Callum Ilott looking comfortable, isn't he, in that light coloured racing suit, driving the Zanardi Carilla. Nicholas Nielsen, I don't know if I'm imagining it, but it just looks to me in the body language of Nicholas Nielsen a sort of resignation. Look, I'm doing the best I can, but I'm not going to be able to catch this guy. Good race though for the last step of the podium. Pedro Hiltbrand holding on from, looks over his shoulder and sees Mark Litchfield in close order, and Alessio Lorandi is not a million miles behind either, because Alessio Lorandi is a lot closer to Mark Litchfield than he was moments ago. But our screen shows Callum Ilott on lap 20 of 22, leading Nicholas Nielsen by over a second now, 1.03 of a second. The first time that he's put a full 1 second between himself and Nicholas Nielsen, but nevertheless a really good dominant display throughout, even though he hadn't got a full second advantage before. Well, this is lap 21 in a 22 lap race. It's now down to, does everything go okay for Callum Ilott? Wouldn't wish a disaster upon. Oh, and Mark Litchfield and Pedro Hiltbrand and Alessio Lorandi have had a coming together. They're all continuing, but Alessio Lorandi is now in 3rd place. Our camera's capturing that. Alessio Lorandi now holding that 3rd podium place. Callum Ilott still leading. There he is in shot in the middle of your screen. The late afternoon sunshine catching his helmet, or mid-afternoon sunshine catching his helmet. Nicholas Nielsen in shot now briefly. Behind them, Alessio Lorandi, Mark Litchfield and Pedro Hiltbrand. having had a very good dice for third place. Alessio Larandia's pulled well clear of the rest of them as we start the final lap. So let's go round with Callum Ilott, turning left under the Litchfield Bridge, turning left again over the Litchfield Bridge, turning right to drop down the ramp as it would be if this was at Monaco, onto the first part of the back straight at the PF International Circuit. Then the two consecutive 180-degree hairpin turns. First the right one, now the left one. Moving down on the return home straight, turning left-right through the chicane. There's the right-hand turn onto the second part of the back straight here at PF International Circuit. Right-handed into the technical complex, past the pits turn, right and left. A sweeping left-hander now, one more right turn, that puts him onto the home straight. There's the checkered flag and the championship is in the bag as well as the race victory. Nicholas Nielsen a little bit disconsolate in second place.